Let's just start with that. A truly shocking statement, right? I mean, what kind of person would say something like this? And maybe more importantly, who on earth were they talking about? Well, that venom was aimed at a woman named Sofia Kovalevskaya. And it was written on this exact day in history, January 30th, the very same day she was busy shattering a centuries-old barrier. So while she was making history, some people were literally calling her a monster. You know, that one moment on that one day got me thinking, what other stories are hiding out there on this single, seemingly random day? What can a date like January 30th tell us about the deeply human side of science and mathematics? Okay, I know what this looks like. Births, deaths, a list of names can seem a little dry. But these aren't just names and dates. Think of each one as a locked door. And behind every door, there's a wild story of struggle, adventure, and incredible intellect. So today, let's open a few of them. Let's start with the Trailblazers. You know, people like Kovalevskaya. These are the folks who didn't just have to solve equations, they had to fight society itself just for the right to do it. So, on January 30th, 1894, a man named Moritz Abraham Stern passed away. His entire career was a battle, and the opposition he faced, it wasn't just professional disagreement. People literally called the idea of him getting a professorship tantamount to sacrilege. In that kind of environment, his ambition to be a full professor without converting to Christianity, well, it was seen as an attack on the natural order of things. And yet, he did it. Get this, that's what his own friend told him when he shared his plan. It wasn't just seen as a professional risk. People thought he was genuinely out of his mind to even try. It just shows you the sheer force of will it must have taken to even start down that path. And this is what's so cool about this whole idea. Stern, who died on January 30th, and Kovalevskaya, who had her great triumph on January 30th, were fighting different battles on the exact same front. It was a battle for recognition based on merit, not on your gender or your religion. This one day holds both their stories. All right, for our next theme, let's look at the career path itself. Because if you have this picture in your head of a mathematician's life as a straight line from school to a university office, well, think again. Sometimes the path is just weird. Okay, you have got to hear about Ellice Horsburgh, who was born on January 30th, 1870. His life reads like an adventure novel. He starts out training for the civil service, but then he gets sick. His doctor tells him to go to Australia for his health, and he lands there right in the middle of a massive gold rush. So what does he do? He spends 2 years digging for gold. When that doesn't pan out, he just goes back to Scotland and becomes a math lecturer. I mean, what an incredible detour. It just proves that life is anything but predictable. And he was not the only one with a strange path. George Temple, who passed away on January 30th, 1992, had one of the most varied lives I think I've ever come across. It starts right here in 1917. He's just 15 years old, and he has to leave school to work at an insurance company to help support his family. Now, flash forward to the 1940s. That same kid is now a leading scientist at Farnborough during World War II. He's working on absolutely critical problems like supersonic fluid dynamics and figuring out how to stop bomber wings from icing over. From an insurance clerk to a wartime aviation expert, that's a serious leap. But wait, the story is not over. Not even close. After an amazing career as a world-renowned professor of mathematics, he made his final, and I think most surprising move. In 1982, George Temple became a Benedictine monk. Just think about that arc for a second. Insurance, quantum mechanics, aerodynamics, and finally a quiet monastic life. All in one lifetime. It's incredible. So, we've seen the fighters and the adventurers. But what about the work itself? Is being a mathematician all about a sudden flash of genius, or is it something else entirely? Well, let's look at Andrei Bolibrukh, who was born on January 30th, 1950. For more than 10 years after he got his PhD, his career was described as, quote, rather ordinary. And then in 1989, he does something, well, extraordinary. He solves one of Hilbert's famous 21 problems, a challenge that had completely stumped mathematicians for almost 100 years. He wasn't some young prodigy. He was proof that a world-changing breakthrough can come after years and years of just quiet, persistent work. And I just love this little detail about him. When he was a kid, his dad tried to explain pi to him, but he couldn't get it. He was stuck on a much more basic question. He asked,
You say to write numbers, but what is an area? It's such a pure, curious question, and it really shows you the kind of fundamental thinking that would one day solve one of math's great mysteries.
Now, I want to contrast that one brilliant breakthrough with this number, 47. That's it. What could this possibly represent?
This is the other side of mathematical greatness. This is the life's work of Edward Sang, born January 30th, 1805. He didn't have one single eureka moment. His legacy is 47 volumes of logarithmic and astronomical tables. This was his entire life's work, put together meticulously over 4 decades. And he didn't do it alone, he did it with his 2 daughters. It's just a powerful story about dedication, patience, and family collaboration.
So, what does this all add up to? We've got trailblazers, adventurers, late bloomers, and lifelong collaborators. And they're all connected by this one single day on the calendar. I think Edward Sang, the man of 47 volumes, really said it best. His work wasn't just about calculation, it was a craft, a form of art. And this quote reminds us that behind all the numbers and all the symbols, there's creativity, there's passion, and there's a deeply human drive to understand the world around us. So in the end, January 30th isn't just another day on the calendar, is it? It's a cross-section of humanity. It shows us that the history of science isn't some clean, sterile timeline. It's messy, it's surprising, and it's an inspiring collection of real human lives. Which really leaves us with just one final thought. We've just unlocked some of the stories from January 30th. So what struggles, what triumphs, what totally unexpected journeys might be hiding out there on the day you were born?